Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Wednesday, the 14th of June. Good to have you aboard. We are a Blue Wire podcast, presented as always by our title sponsor, Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. The best out there if you've been involved in any kind of an accident. Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. Everything ZASLOW Show 2.0 is possible because of the support from Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Glenn Levine, Mark Anidjar, Ellie Anidjar, and they're here to help you and take care of you if you're dealing with a personal injury. Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. I mean, what a couple of nights we've had to deal with here. As great, as phenomenal that these championship runs have been for the Heat and Panthers, they come to a crashing end on consecutive nights. I mean, I told you yesterday, I don't need that shit in my life. Back-to-back nights, our team's season's ending. And that's exactly what we experienced with the Panthers following up the Heat's loss a couple nights ago. The Panthers last night, 9-3. They get their shit kicked in. The Vegas Knights, they had the buzzsaw last night. The Panthers ran into the buzzsaw. Bobrovsky turned into a pumpkin. Oh my God, I've never seen a goalie give up 9 goals. Yeah, because normally after like the 5th goal, he gets pulled. But Stanley Cup final game, Bobrovsky was getting in that the entire time. They were finishing with their guy. You got no problem with that. Bobrovsky turned into a pumpkin. And the Panthers did, like, one of the things with this Panther team, you look at the 4th line especially. You had Eric Stahl playing on the 3rd line. So you had 4th line guys on the 3rd line. You're dealing with injuries. You did not have the depth. Grigory Denisenko, top prospect. He's making his playoff debut in the Stanley Cup final elimination game. And of course, no Matthew Tkachuk. And we found out, we'll play you the audio from Paul Maurice after the game. He was fantastic soundbite. He's always a phenomenal soundbite. And boy, did he give you everything last night. The injuries that this Panther team was dealing with. So, we're going to talk a lot of Panthers here. We're going to recap the Miami Heat. Our girl, Amber Wilson, is going to join this show today. ESPN Radio, Joe and Amber, every night, 7 to 9 p.m. You guys know it's my favorite show. Great girl. Amber will join us coming up. We'll talk a lot of Heat basketball with her. We'll see how she experienced the Panthers last night. So we'll do all of that good stuff. But today, unfortunately, it is you're 2 days in a row. You're getting a sad version of your boy. I was so sad during that game last night. Like, I was sad after the Heat game and the next day, but in the game, I was in it. That Heat game 2 nights ago, that was my drugs. I love that kind of game. Oh my God, the anxiety, the tension. I love that game. I didn't have time to be sad in game. We had a chance to win. And the Panthers last night, it was so frustrating because, the first 10 minutes of the game, and I told my son, I'm like, I love how we look. We're playing great. I really like how we look. And not only were the Panthers playing really well, and they killed off a penalty, but they're also on the power play now. And we give up a shorty. So we're playing great. We're on the power play. And now we're down 1-0. And then it's 2-0 before the end of the period. And then even in the second period, I pretty much checked out mentally at this point. All right, it's like we're playing well, and we're down 2-0. Our depth is eventually going to bite us in the ass. And then Ekblad gets to the goal. All right, 2-1. And guess what? The first 10 minutes of the second period, we're playing really well. So the first 30 minutes of this game, the Panthers are thoroughly outplaying the Knights. And we're down 2-1. Okay, we're in this game. And then the bottom falls out. And it was just an avalanche from the Vegas Knights. 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1. And so at that point, I bring this show into the bedroom. I'm going to watch the rest of the game in bed. Honestly, I didn't want to watch anymore. I almost cried. I mean, I really almost cried because I'm a man, and I take all my emotions and I shove them way deep down inside for them to never see the light of day. But I was on the verge of tears watching the third period. I was just so sad because I love this team so much. And there are so many Panther fans, I think, who feel the same way, who I could speak for right now. And I saw a lot of this on Facebook, on Twitter, and I'm really happy to see this because, you know, I told you yesterday after the Heat lost to point fingers, to exact blame, to be angry. I really think you're experiencing sports wrong. There are so many good moments, so many amazing moments, lifetime memories, forever moments that we've experienced from both the Heat and Panthers over these last 2 months. I really think you're experiencing sports the wrong way if you're angry right now. If you can't look back at what was so joyous throughout these runs. And especially with the Panthers. And it probably had a lot to do with 27 years in between. But especially the Panthers, I really saw an outpouring of emotion where the Panther fan seemed especially grateful. And I'm so grateful for the Panthers. Hell, I was so grateful after they won their first round series last year. I was emotional after winning in the first round last year. And the fact that there was 27 years in between making it to the Stanley Cup final, I'm so happy with the way this season went. And just like the Heat, a really difficult regular season where they were right. Bill Zito was right. Paul Maurice was right, who forever now is okay in my book. Paul Maurice is okay in my book. Forever. He was right. And this Panther team had to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. And they did that in the regular season. And just 7-0 in overtime. Like 7 times this postseason. The game ended with me jumping around and hugging my kids. Think about that. Like, I'm so happy at this run that we had. It was so special. I'm so proud of them. And I hope all you Panther fans are as well with what we were able to experience. I mean, I'm so sad that it ended this way in an embarrassing fashion. It was like that. Last night was embarrassing. I'm so sad that it had to end that way. But my overriding feeling is I'm so grateful with what this team gave us. 7 times, 7-0 in the overtime. 7 times. I'm jumping around with incredible joy. And that's not even counting Tkachuk's goal to win Game 4 against Carolina, because that was with, a couple 4.3 seconds remaining. That's not even counting that one, and we'll get to Tkachuk, but that's not even counting that one, which was an all-time great South Florida sports moment. What a year. What a year. I'm so happy with this team. And look, the last 2 years have been the best 2 years in Panther history. These last 3 years, first time in franchise history, they've made the postseason 3 consecutive years. So it really feels like this is what we've been waiting for. 29 years of Panther hockey. Finally, they're taking a hold of a fan base here, and we're experiencing what it's like to play winning hockey every season. So this Panther team is in a great position moving forward, but they do have a lot of work to do, because while they're really good up top, they need a lot of help on the bottom. There's just not enough depth, and we saw that last night. But these last 2 years, the greatest 2 years in Panther hockey history. Last year, the greatest regular season in Panther history. This year, the greatest postseason in Panther history. So these 2 years, I mean, I'm so grateful for. I'm so happy for this team and what they're doing, and I can't wait for next season. This team's got work to do to get back to this point, but they're right on track. They're absolutely on the right track. And you know what? Most teams have to suffer first, and the Panther fan is suffering right now. We're really suffering. But most of the time, you got to do some suffering to get to where you want to get to. And now, you got a lot of experience in that dressing room, a lot of postseason experience, and we know that this style of play with Paul Maurice, it works, and it works for this group, and you have an absolute stud of a leading man, maybe the face of the National Hockey League now in Matthew Tkachuk. So, let's get to, there's not a whole lot to talk about from the game last night. What are we going to talk about? It was embarrassing. And they just totally ran out of gas. So, I want to send you to the end of the game. Post-game, all of it, okay? Paul Maurice, Jackie Redmond, NHL on TNT. Boy, their coverage is phenomenal, isn't it? NHL on TNT, so good. And Jackie Redmond post-game outside the dressing room is interviewing Paul Maurice. So, give Paul Maurice a listen here. He talks about the injuries. We always find this out after the Stanley Cup Finals. We find out what all the guys were dealing with. They're all dealing with injuries. Not knick-knack stuff, usually serious stuff that we never know about because the NHL doesn't have to disclose any of the injury stuff. Like Matthew Tkachuk going into the game yesterday, Matthew Tkachuk out, undisclosed. And even when they do kind of disclose it, we only know upper body, lower body. NHL's weird like that. So here's Paul Maurice. Listen to what he says about Matthew Tkachuk and Aaron Ekblad.
Well, obviously not the way that you wanted this to end, and this team has battled through so many injuries, and then you lose Matthew Tkachuk tonight. We just heard you in the presser talk about his fractured sternum. How hard was it for him to accept that he could not play in this game?
Well, there's two pieces to that. The mental part of it not being there killed him, but he knew. One of the things about him, he's an incredibly bright young man, so he can assess his own game. He knew, we all knew that the hope would be that if we could get 5 more days of rest into him, there was a chance for Game 7, but he came back, he fractured that, and he came back and scored the game-tying goal, net front. And then you could see him in the next game trying to find a way to play with a broken bone. And I think he had the 3 best chances we had to score. He had 3 of the 4 for sure. But clearly he also knew that the other 4 guys on the ice needed a guy who could do other things. So he accepted it. He understood.
Well, he's not the only one that battled through this series. Gudas has missed time. Duclair has missed time. Montour has missed time. What can you say about the character of this group? Because they never seem to stop fighting.
Yeah. There's 1,000 stories in that room, Jackie, truly. Aaron Ekblad broke his foot in the Boston series. May have to.
Boston?
In the Boston series. Then he popped his shoulder out twice, passed a concussion test, and tore his oblique. And he drove that puck up the ice in Game 3 and kept it in, and we scored tonight. So we have some incredible stories. It wasn't actually this series. The vast majority of our injuries came in the Boston series, and they survived it. I mean, I love these guys. I've never seen a group of men. Radko got hurt here, high ankle sprain. That's a 6-week rehab. He missed a period.
All right, so a couple things.
It was wonderful to watch.
Like I said, we always know that we're going to find out about injuries after the series ends. Tkachuk with a broken sternum, fractured sternum, continued to play in Game 3. He suffered this in Game 3. Continues to play in Game 3. Scores the game-tying goal with the empty net. And then the Panthers win Game 3 in overtime. Then he guts it out in Game 4. When you knew he couldn't play in Game 5, you knew it was super serious. But this Matthew Tkachuk, who plays through that, and everything he gave the regular season he had, his first year with the team. Then he's in Conn Smythe consideration in the Stanley Cup playoffs It ended up going to Jonathan Marshall, so we'll get to that. Dale Town. Oh, my, this fucking guy. Matthew Tkachuk, Conn Smythe consideration if the Panthers would have won. The overtime goals that he had throughout this postseason, guaranteeing coming back 3-1. He gets the winner in Game 5 against Boston. 2 more goals in Game 6 at home against Boston. This Matthew Tkachuk, he is a Panther legend already. All-time greatest Florida Panther in just his first year with the team. He's 25 years old. We got him under contract for 7 more years. I love him. That guy is a winner. And then Aaron Ekblad, who had a goal last night. He had the goal that looked like it had the Panthers in the game last night. Broke his foot in the Boston series. You heard Jackie Redmond's reaction in the Boston series? Broken foot in the Boston series. 2 dislocated shoulders. And what do you say? A torn something. Aaron Ekblad, props to you, man. Like a warrior. And just all these guys. Radko Gudas should be a 6-week rehab. He only missed the 1 period. Came back the next game earlier in the series. What was it, Game 2, I believe? Game 2 or Game 3? Just, what a team, man. This sport is unbelievable. Matthew Tkachuk played 2 games through a fractured sternum, including the game-tying goal in Game 3. An NBA player, he retires. He gets a fractured sternum. Incredible. Incredible sport. Incredible tournament. Incredible Panther team. Matthew Tkachuk, all-time Panther great. Man, I love that guy. There's so much to feel good about from this run. Amazing. I'm so thrilled with the season. I'm sad that it ended this way. I really am. Matthew Tkachuk, man. If you didn't know, that's my dog right there. That's my dog. So, ZASLOW Show 2.0 poll question today. Let's get to this. Go to @ZASLOW Show. You can vote. You can also hit me up always on @ZASLOWJ on Instagram. But @ZASLOW Show on Twitter. Vote in today's poll question. Today's poll question is, considering the last 2 nights, how would you rather your season end? Tight game? Blowout. So would you rather have your heart ripped out, or would you rather be able to mentally prepare throughout the game that it's ending? That's essentially what we're talking about here. Considering the last 2 nights, Heat, Panthers, how would you rather your season end? Tight game or blowout? I've had this conversation. We'll talk to Amber about this. I've had this conversation many times on ZASLOW and Amber. And I've always been on the side of, I'd rather a blowout. I can't handle losing with the super tight game in the season ending right down to the very end. I've always said blowout. After what I've experienced, after what we've experienced the last 2 nights, I've changed my mind. I would prefer losing in the tight game. I preferred having a chance. As heartbreaking as the finish was, I'd prefer having a chance in the very end. Now, did it play a factor that wasn't Game 7? It was Game 5 against a team that you know is better than you? Maybe. But I'd prefer the way the Heat lost 2 nights ago than last night with the Panthers. I was heartbroken the entire 3rd period last night, and I did not enjoy that experience. I did not enjoy that game last night. I can look back at the Heat game 2 nights ago. I thought it was a great game. Now, aesthetically, it was not great, but that's my type of game. I enjoyed that game, even though it did not end the way we wanted. Last night, I did not enjoy that. So for me, I'm voting tight game. Right now, the leader with 68% of the vote is tight game. We'll ask Amber about that, because we've had that conversation many times on our show. All right, before we continue on here, we'll get to Amber in a moment. If you're in the market for a new car, you can't decide where to go. Luckily, you're listening to your boy right now. I'm sending you to the only car dealership I personally endorse, North Fort Lauderdale Subaru. You walk in the showroom doors, you're met with a member of their friendly sales team. They're going to help navigate you in the right direction. North Fort Lauderdale Subaru carries the widest inventory of the newest Subaru models on the market, including the Subaru Outback, the Crosstrek, the Forester, the Ascent, the WRX. Whether you're looking for a spacious Subaru SUV for the family or you just want a reliable Subaru sedan for your daily commute. Something easy, something simple. North Fort Lauderdale Subaru, they have the perfect model for you. That's right. I already told you guys, you always get more at North Fort Lauderdale Subaru. Guaranteed most money for your trade, lifetime warranty included on all North Fort Lauderdale Subaru vehicles. Where else are you getting that? Shop NFLSubaru.com. North Fort Lauderdale Subaru, conveniently located on North Andrews Avenue, just north of Cypress Creek Road. The building you know and the place to go. North Fort Lauderdale Subaru, NFLSubaru.com.